Welcome back to our next session, revolutionizing food and beverage jobs and breaking the stigma. My pleasure to welcome, you couldn't have got it any more wrong. My pleasure to welcome Jan Taylor, who's Vice President of Food and Beverage for Six Flags Qiddiya, Jason Dell, Director of Culinary for Six Flags Qiddiya, and Jean-Pierre, Vice President of Food and Beverage for Cellar. So full disclaimer, these two handsome young men on the far end are my colleagues, and I've been waiting all week to host this session. We've got some good questions. But let me give an introduction to the panel. Jan has more than 35 years experience in high volume food and beverage in theme parks such as SeaWorld, Universal Studios Orlando, Universal Studios Hollywood, as well as extensive experience in sports, entertainment, stadiums, and arenas in the US. And he's now in Saudi Arabia leading the food and beverage operation for Six Flags Qiddiya. Jason, an energized, seasoned entrepreneurial culinary leader who I will say has yet to make me lunch. It's not happening. It's coming, right? It's coming. But previous owner of stellar food career spanning 25 plus years in 5-star resorts, luxury lodges, fine dining restaurants, multi-cuisine kitchens, leisure recreation and entertainment complexes, and he describes himself as a passionate foodie. And Jean-Pierre, food and beverage professional, managed multiple projects and companies across the Middle East for the past 25 plus years, created, delivered, and managed multiple F&B concepts from drive-through kiosks through to large-scale bakeries and coffee shops. My pleasure to welcome the panel, talking about food and beverage jobs, breaking the stigma. So let me jump straight in there with a question to all of you. What are the common misconceptions in food and beverage, and how do you dispel those myths? And how do you go about attracting talent? Let me start with Jan on the end.
Well, I think the common joke is when somebody finds out you're in food and beverages, do you want fries with that? I think the extent of the perception of food and beverage is that it's all grill cooks and fry cooks and servers, but there's so much more depth and things that go into food and beverage and the entire experience. Specifically, I'm talking about our Six Flags park that we're building right now. We have VIP catering, we have full service dining, we have buffeterias, we have fast food, we have food safety specialists, we have sustainability specialists, we have, of course, managers that are managing the P&L, human resources specialists. So there's a myriad of different things that go into running a food and beverage operation that does not stop at the fast food kitchen. So I think getting that word out is important for us to make people understand that food and beverage industry is a very exciting and dynamic place to work. The opportunities for advancement are fantastic. I sort of accidentally started in food and beverage about 37 years ago, and I've never left it because it was compelling, it was interesting, and I was able to apply my skills and my aptitude and my desire to grow and basically grow through the industry over the years. So I've stuck with it, and it's my job to try and encourage others to do that. And we're looking at those opportunities to do it, especially here in Saudi, trying to get the Saudi folks to join us in that approach. And I think it's going to be a little easier than we think because hospitality is already deeply ingrained in the Saudi culture. We just have to educate people on how to get a leg up in the food and beverage industry, and once they get in the door, to treat them right and give them opportunities to grow, cross-train, and advance.
Jason, do you echo that? What does it look like, particularly on the chef side?
I went to school and grew up thinking that cooking was for girls. Actually, it was not encouraged in school. It was not a boys' thing. So all my friends in their careers have gone on to become lawyers, accountants, engineers, mechanics.
Okay, I think we're back. Well, the old adage of the show must go on, and it will. So sorry for the brief interruption there, guys. And if you've just joined us, we're here with JP, Jason, and Jan, and we're talking food and beverage jobs. And we were really just getting into the beginning of misconceptions about careers in the F&B industry, and how do you dispel those myths and attract attract that talent? JP, Jason?
Oh, I was just kind of, starting by saying that as a kid growing up through high school, hospitality to me was like dull and boring, unattractive work. That's how it was perceived. Very underpaid job, really unsociable hours, but I still became a chef. I'm still hooked on food. Most people I went to school with have gone into other professional directions. But the one thing that's kept me going is the passion and the love for creating delicious food, which you get to enjoy.
Waiting, I'm waiting.
And just, reminding people that we are in the business of making people happy, and that's why I continue with the job that I'm doing.
Like the guys mentioned, the majority of the people, they think it's an inferior profession to be working in the F&B business. Definitely, because in their mindset, F&B is just waiter job or a cook, not a chef, a cook. I remember when I came here like 12, 13 years back. We're trying to convince new people to join the F&B business, especially young Saudis. We had this challenge because of this inferiority. They were too shy to be working in the F&B. They didn't want to be seen working in restaurants because it's inferior. With time, with social media and so on, the perception is changing. You see lots of young Saudis that are into the F&B business. You see like young chefs coming out. You see like celebrity chefs coming out, which I think we need to focus on because they will be the role models. They are the champions to lead the others to follow their steps. And definitely it's our job as F&B management in our positions also to initiate, to create this initiative for the young generation, to show them the career path they have. It's not just a waiter, it's really lots of positions reaching out to our positions. There is like 20 positions of them to reach ours, and sky the limit.
Yeah, Neil, just touching on that, and I think John and I have talked a lot, that's where there's a big shortfall in this country, is grooming the talent. So having the culinary schools, having the hospitality outlets, operations in this country to produce the talent that we need for the number of giga projects and restaurants and etc. that is coming this way. I mean, I grew up in Christchurch. If everybody knows where New Zealand is, it's the other side of the world. I went to probably the most famous chef training institute in my country, in Christchurch, and it's flooded with talent. It's flooded with population. 30 years ago, I did my chef training, and they are still full today, recruiting and training caliber talent for the food industry. And John and I have kind of evidenced here in the region there's a big opening in the market for a greater platform of training providers, right?
Yeah, I think we're going to talk about that in a couple of questions, but for sure, going back to the stigmatism, I think the advent of social media and the entertainment choices like Top Chef, Gordon Ramsay, Anthony Bourdain, they're bringing the culinary experience to every household now. And I think our sales job is going to be a lot easier moving forward because of the famous people that are bringing that to everyday life.
So do you think that famous influence and perceptions and social media, do you think that is changing perceptions? When I first started in parks, you went to work in food and beverage if you didn't make the cut to go work on the rides. Everyone wanted to work on the rides. Sorry, you didn't quite make it. Why don't you have a career in food and beverage? And that was how it was sold and staffed. Now, that was 20 odd years ago. Do you think those perceptions are changing?
Yeah, I think so, because, I mean, again, going back to the entertainment, you have guys like Guy Fieri who goes from diner to diner, and he's showing you that food experience can be elevated. But then you also have guys like Gordon Ramsay who are, addressing the more finer details, the fine dining details. So there's a potpourri of different experiences. And if you go on Instagram or TikTok or even Twitter, I mean, there are so many influencers on there now that are making dishes that are compelling, that I think it's really beginning to to tickle the fancy of people out there that may not have thought about a career in food and beverage before, that or maybe are starting to think that way. But we really need to do a good job, especially here in Saudi, of establishing entry-level vocational training in addition to higher education. So we'll be talking more about that, I think, in a couple questions.
So, how do you attract that top talent? What do the building blocks look like? What's in your toolbox for you guys to go out, and maybe start with JP? What's in your toolbox to go out, pick that up, and start attracting talent to your venues?
Like John mentioned, he started by creating first the schools, let's say culinary schools, to start setting the basic, to teach them the basics, and then it start. Let's say we create some culinary schools. It's connected to certain companies, to certain restaurants where they do have their own their education, and then they continue in these restaurants showing their careers. So, or vice versa. The companies can approach people. They give them a job with a scholarship. Like I remember where nursing it was a big issue in most of the countries. This is how they started. They give them the scholarship. They go study nursing. In return, they work back in these hospitals, and they pay back their tuitions. This is one of the ideas that can be done. Because I think giving for free, institution, they won't take it seriously because it's not costing them anything. But once you sign, let's say, you need to work for 2 years to pay back the scholarship you got, I think it makes them more serious when it comes to this business. Because we were discussing before coming here, no, not with you, but with a colleague of mine, that lots of initiatives took place. Lots of people, they went into these trainings, but they were expecting just the certificate at the end of the sessions, and that's it. But when you sign, you'll be accountable for 2 years. Once you work for 2 years, it's magnetic. I always say F&B is magnetic business. Once you start, you cannot leave. So,
Neil, you just talked about treating cooking as a punishment for those working in for me, it's about identifying the talent and giving them a big hug, fostering that talent, giving them opportunity, keeping them encouraged and energized and wanting to learn. And as a kitchen leader, how I do that is by giving cross exposure in all areas of the kitchen and keeping them energized and sending people to other properties and for work experience and diversity, and building a career pathway with the team. So in our kind of organization, we want to kind of grow talent that wants to hang around and be a part of the amusement entertainment business for years to come, and not be a job hopper and not get bored and feel like my employer's not looking after me, or my supervisor or manager doesn't care about my own well-being or development. So it's really important that we nurture and encourage and look after our people that are in our teams.
Jan, you've got the big job in the room. You've got a lot of talent to fill your department with. So what are those building blocks for you? Where do you start?
Well, I think you need to assess, like I mentioned in the first question, there's a myriad of different things that are involved, especially in our very complex food and beverage operation. And you need to try and assess what the skill set is that this person brings. What is their propensity? What do they want to do? Are they a guest relations type person? Are they very talkative and friendly? They belong probably in the front of the house. If you have people that are more into analytics, perhaps they should be, in the warehouse or in the logistics department. And if you have people that are very environmentally conscious, then they can help you with sustainability and building local procurement programs that will help to reduce our carbon footprint, as well as work on ways to recycle food, because I think that is an underutilized area that we need to focus more attention on around the world, but specifically here in Saudi. How do we reduce our carbon footprint? That's something that can also to be a part of a food and beverage career. So You go from that to VIP services, and we actually do need fry cooks. I know I made a joke about it at the beginning, but there are positions for fry cooks. So, we need an entry-level vocational program, and as we're meeting different companies, there's a couple that we've met with that are very good, that are starting from that level. One is named Save Fast. They're working with Princess Noor University to set up a culinary program that restaurateurs will come in and recruit local Saudis, train them up from the ground up as baristas, as culinarians, as front of the house service people. And then there's also the Institute for Learning. That's another program that we've met with, and they're focused on Saudi women in particular, training them up. So there's a couple of really good grassroots efforts to bring education and awareness to the Saudi workforce that we can't wait to embrace and be a part of that and help that grow.
And let's talk about technology for a moment. And we talk about it generally because you choose an F&B job, you choose a career, and you become immersed in that world. How's technology changing that world? How does it shape consumption? How does it shape choices? How does it shape service of expectations in Saudi Arabia? And how do you think it's changing the industry that you guys have spent so long working in?
Definitely, technology is changing it, but when it comes to innovations, when it comes to creating new items, this is the technology, and when it comes to manufacturing or whatever, yes, it is changing. But when it comes to the dining, we moved from regular dining to experiences. So when we moved to experiences, it became all senses experience. So this is where technology came in. I remember back in 2014-15, a restaurant opened in Ibiza. They were using they call it submersive experiences. So immersive experience, when they merge between music, 3D mapping, and so on, to have this all senses of experience. Now it became more trendy. It became more oftenly where to incorporate between the food and beverage and other components like music, like visuals, like acting, like to create the whole experience. Because right now it's all about experiences, not just a good food. Everybody can serve a good food if they do have just definitely the ABC. But what about the right experience? What about the experience that people are looking for?
Chef, what does that look like in the kitchen?
Oh, I think it's important to acknowledge that the internet, right, has really done a lot to put food in our face, and it's allowed us to have such a wider knowledge and experience of different foods of the world. For me, I was growing up totally reliant on the books and what I read in the magazines, but now I can go to my phone and I can study 55 different styles of cuisine and what's hot in each country, in an instant. And it's really amazing how advanced that technology has made things much more accessible for us.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, coming out of the advent of the COVID situation, everybody got very used to mobile ordering, virtual menus. So, that's something I think can be pushed a little too far. I'm still the type of person, when I walk into a restaurant, I like a tactile menu that I can look at, as opposed to having to connect to the Wi-Fi and find it and scroll. But I do think that there's certainly a place for that, and I certainly take hats off to the industry for applying that and saving a lot of people from cross-contamination. But, everything on the internet is great. You mentioned, you can Google just about anything, but then there's also technology like, LinkedIn. People can look you up on LinkedIn, find out about opportunities for work. So there's recruiting aspects, there's procurement aspects. You can look up companies online and find out what they sell. And is that something you might be interested in? They can look you up online and call you and say, hey, I offer this product. You may not have thought about this. So, there's no doubt that technology is taking us leaps and bounds down the road. And, we have to leverage that technology to our advantage.
And what about educational initiatives? How's that reshaping the industry? It's lifelong learning, and it's key to this development and these building blocks we talked about. But how is it changing food and beverage? How's it becoming? Jason talked about his culinary school, but how's it becoming a more educated industry? What do those initiatives look like?
Well, I think this applies for broader than just food and beverage, but we were pretty smart in Qiddiya. Early on, we invested time to send, Omar, was it 60 folks to Orlando, Florida, to University of Central Florida, Rosen School of Hospitality. We sent these students there. They got a 4-year degree. They've come back now, and they're interning, and they're rotating through all of the departments at Six Flags and the water park to see what they like. And I was lucky enough to land. Omar Alamoudi is here with us today. He did our very first rotation at the end of 2023, and decided right away, he's like, this is where I want to be. So, that was a great investment. But I think, I see plenty of my comrades here who have all been benefactors of that program, and I'm hoping that we can do that again, because I can tell you the level of enthusiasm and smarts and it's been inspirational. And I was really pleasantly surprised that that they would come back so cultured and eager to learn, and really they're giving us as much education about their culture and traditions here as we're giving them as far as a future experience once we open the park. So it's been a fantastic program. That's just one example. I already talked about the vocational opportunities that are beginning to grow here. So between those two factions, we should be able to fill our top line and our middle tiers with hopefully a multiple majority of Saudis.
JP, let's talk about success stories of individuals or companies in the F&B industry that attracted talent and then retained it. We talk about all this time of attracting talent, training, developing them, but how do you retain it? What do the success stories look like?
Let me tell you, unfortunately, successful stories are limited to hotels, because hotels, they do have more stability when it comes to sustaining a certain business, especially after COVID. It affected the F&B business when it comes to dining. So always when it comes to stability, unfortunately, it doesn't come among the top professions to be among with. So most of the successful story to retain talent comes from the hotel industry, because I lost lots of good talent for hotels looking for stability. Yeah, I do know lots of successful stories when it comes to chefs. They started and became owners. They own their own business. Yeah, we do have quite a few, and they are doing a very good thing. You can name a lot from them. They are doing. They do have significant. It's consistent business, successful business, because we do have lots of trend. We do have lots of restaurants that open and that do great, but few they can sustain the business. There are few they manage to sustain the business. But with culinary schools, with education, with certain programs, we help them to sustain more, because there is, in every business, there is an ABC. You need to teach the ABC, you need to follow the ABC. You manage to have 90% success. Definitely 10% it comes to luck.
Jason, what does it look like for you? You get me in your kitchen, you spend 2 years teaching me how to cook a steak. How do you keep me there?
So again, it comes down to the leadership, right? Comes down to fostering an energized environment where the staff feel appreciated, where they can see they can grow themselves up. So I got two stories. One, Blanket Bay in New Zealand. I took an apprentice straight out of chef school. He stayed with me for 5 years, traveled the world, then came back to Blanket Bay as the head chef. And he's still in that property, right? Second story I like to talk about is my time with Rove Hotels in Dubai, a new lifestyle hotel property entering the market. They have like 9 properties across Dubai now, right? So I was there at the beginning, fostering a really energized team, really developing the juniors and giving them opportunity, encouraging them. We used to support them with self-development. You know, we used to encourage them to grow themselves up and enroll in online training courses. We used to send them for work experience in all different places. The guys who started with me 8 years ago, they're still working for Rove Hotels. They've all worked their way up in the ranks, opening the new branches across Dubai. So I think that's a testament to the company looking after, investing in their people. That's a really important point.
Perfect. And last question for you guys, and I pitch it to the 3 of you. Looking ahead, what's trends, innovations that's going to revolutionize and change the way food and beverage employment or food and beverage looks in Saudi Arabia? Where does it go? What does the future look like?
Star Trek on steroids.
You know, the F&B business, I consider it's a young business in Saudi. I consider it started back in 2019. Before 2019, I remember where we had few restaurants, we had like fast food chains. It evolved with years. 2019, 20, 21, we started having fine dining restaurants from all over the world. Recently, the successful stories are local concepts created by local Saudis, and it's successful. And just we need to support them to make it sustainable. And sky the limit. Definitely with social media, with the YouTube, and everything. It's creating some trends, some innovations. People are introducing these innovations. One time someone came to me, look, on TikTok we saw this products, why you don't do it in the events? Definitely, it's interesting to do it, but when it comes to sustainability, it's just a trend. So this is what's missing, is to educate how to sustain it, but the business is doing good when it comes to local innovative concepts coming in. For the international concepts, some that are suffering, yes, it requires some adaptation. Adaptation is needed. I think now they started to learn. It's a learning curve for some brands that recently opened for a year or 2 years. I think now they are adjusting so far.
I think, you know, for our entire hospitality industry, there's no better time than right now. I mean, you've got so many opportunities. Sala is growing, Seven is growing. Obviously, Qiddiya is growing. You have the Red Sea. You have Neom coming online. You've got Expo 2030 coming. Like, we have a plethora of opportunity. What we have to do is build awareness that there are good, exciting, dynamic jobs out there in our industry, specifically food and beverage, but in hospitality in general. We desperately need qualified staff, and we need to invest in education. We need to invest in sustainability, and we need to practice what we preach. And I need to be able to show you what my plan is for Six Flags. If asked, what is your plan for sustainability? You know, are you going to be recycling? Are you going to be composting food? Are you going to be dewatering your food and composting it? The answer to all of that is yes. We're doing our best, but we need the infrastructure here in Saudi to support that. So if we're going through the process of recycling and separating all our waste, and all they do is pick it up and take it to a landfill and dump it in the same place, that's not really helping anyone. So, you know, it's incumbent upon us in the food and beverage industry to lead the way and say, you know, we're willing to do our part, but we need interesting opportunities for staff. We need education to get them to where we need them. We need to treat them right when they get there, and we need to show Riyadh and Saudi Arabia, the GCC, and the world that we're going to be the industry leaders in hospitality, food and beverage service moving forward.
I just think that our industry is just moving so fast, like too fast. We kind of need to slow down and just appreciate all the expertise that we've got at our fingertips. But I'm looking forward to see what the next 10 years has to offer to us in the country.
Perfect. Thank you, guys. I do just want to take a couple of minutes and just open the floor up quickly for any questions. I know there's a handheld mic somewhere. If you've got any questions for these guys, and what a great set of panelists on the stage to talk about food and beverage. I think they're happy to take any questions. You guys must have got it wrapped.
I think everyone's here for the next seminar. We ran over, so.
Guys, well, thank you so much. What a great session and great insights into a real exciting topic. Please
Thank you.
giving Jan, Jason, and JP a round of applause. Thank you.